It's time to roll up our sleeves and get down to work, because this week I'm turning my former bedroom into a cute and practical sewing space. Hello friends and welcome. I'm Shannon Makes, historical costumer by day, circus artist by night. And as some of you may know from my monthly vlogs, for the last 6 weeks or so my life has been in a state of semi-permanent transit as I wrapped up my contract in Copenhagen and slowly but surely made my way back to Montreal to an apartment that I haven't seen or stepped foot in for over 3 years at this point. And today, while I am incredibly happy to be back in my room, I do find that it no longer quite works for what I want to do with it. And so today, and this weekend in general, I'll be trying to completely rearrange it to make myself some more sewing space. But before I get any further, I should mention that if you are a monthly coffee supporter, you should head on over there to check out the slightly extended version of this video. First of all, for some context, I live with 3 other people in this apartment here, so my personal living and sewing space is confined pretty much entirely to my bedroom, which fortunately at least is a pretty decent size, especially for Montreal. Well, let's take a look at what it looked like after our arrival yesterday and the complete explosion of 3 years of living and suitcases suddenly taking over the space. So it is kind of in a state of semi-chaos. The sleeping half was more or less how we left it, but the other half is absolutely just jam-packed with luggage and extra furniture that somehow accumulated by our roommates while we were gone. It admittedly doesn't look like there's a whole lot of room in here to make a sewing space, but I do have a plan. So my idea is to actually switch the 2 halves of the room and put the bed in the other half, and then take the couch that's currently in that half and move it to the living room where it can replace the couch that's currently there, which is quite worn and showing its age, despite me already having reupholstered it once about 4 years ago. So that's the game plan, and I've already kind of started on it because yesterday I completely disassembled the gray couch and moved it out of here, set it back up in the living room, and there is exactly 0 footage of that. But here are the results, and it looks pretty nice. So now the couch is gone, and let's take a look at what we're left with. So we've got the bed over here where you can see it has maybe a little bit less room along the sides than it had before, but it's still fitting quite nicely. And then this half of the room is now opened up significantly, except for, of course, all of the luggage that we have piled up over here. We still have the apothecary style tabletop, which is in fact an old IKEA Calyx unit that I upcycled to just look a bit more old-fashioned, but this is where I used to do all of my sewing, which well, it worked, but it was less than ideal. You can see it's a quite narrow surface to set up on, plus I had to do all of my work standing up, so we are definitely hoping to upgrade this situation. And how I'm hoping to do that is that I think I have 2 more of those IKEA shelving units inside that closet there, and the goal is to pull them out and set them up in the middle of the sewing room, and then take that tabletop there and put it on top, and that would be a great starting point for setting up a sewing table. And that's where the concrete part of my plan ends, because I honestly don't remember what else is in that closet. It's been over 3 years since I packed it, so it might actually be kind of scary to open it, because if I remember correctly, it is full to the brim. And see if I remembered correctly, and hopefully there are 2 shelving units in there. And if not, we're gonna need to rethink things. But let's go, keep your fingers crossed. Alright, it's the moment of truth. After over 3 years, I am going to be opening up this closet, and hopefully it's going to be more The Mask and less Tangled. Let's go give it a try. It's the old fabric from reupholstering that white sofa almost 4 years ago. I don't think we'll be needing that anymore. Alright, so all in all, it's a pretty freaking jam-packed, as expected, but I do think I see something promising, and that is I do think I see the IKEA shelving units in there somewhere. So now we're just going to dig them out and hope there are 2 of them. I don't know where I'm going to put all this stuff, but let's figure it out. Well, the bad news is that, as you can probably see, and may have guessed, there is in fact only one IKEA storage unit in this closet, and so we're gonna have to go to plan B. I don't know what that is, but I think I'm just going to continue to empty it out and then drag it into the main section and kind of just play around with options and see if there's something that I can come up with that makes sense. The good news is I do think I have a lot of table legs lying around, so maybe I can make some sort of strange arrangement with the storage unit on one side and a couple legs on the other. I'm not entirely sure. We're flying by the seat of our pants, so yep, let's just keep going. I think this is probably the part in the project where I start to wonder if I've made a huge mistake and if it's ever gonna come together into something that's actually useful and attractive. Then, in the type of luck that seems to happen to me surprisingly often, I came across an abandoned IKEA tabletop of the exact model and dimensions as the one that was already at home, so without a second thought I picked it up and carried it home, which wasn't that far, but let me tell you, I've never been more happy that IKEA's tabletops are basically hollow. There's just so much stuff in here, and I feel like I've been constantly just shuffling it from one corner of the room to the other. So I think what I really need to do is take a pause on all of this and go through everything that was in that closet and kind of get a feel for how much I really want to keep and how much I can give away, and hopefully that'll give me an idea of how much storage I'm gonna need to create in here. Once the initial pass of purging was done, I cleared the room out for what felt like the 20th time and started to play with furniture placement. Having the second tabletop really allowed for a massive work surface, but it did mean I had to do things like check that I had enough room to still open drawers and walk around the table without having to squeeze. So it's been a few days since that last clip, and in that time I've kind of gotten the furniture where I think it should live and be in its most efficient position, but that's definitely not 100% finalized. I've also loaded the underside of the table with all of the supplies and fabric and notions that I think are going to permanently live there once the table is actually assembled, and I can already tell that it's going to be a massive source of storage in the room. I actually can't wait for the table to be done because it is sort of the one thing that is holding up the progress of the rest of the room, and I have all the plans drawn out. I think it's going to be such a nice table, but I think it's also going to take a few more days to get everything all rounded up so that I can assemble it, because I did make the rather on-brand decision that I'd like to make it using as many repurposed and recycled materials as possible, both from what I have on hand in the apartment, but also from the wealth of the Montreal Curbside, which, as you have already seen, can be quite generous. So I think it'll take me still a few more days to get the last few components that I'm missing, and then I can assemble the whole table. But if I look at the timestamp, I can see that already this video is getting quite long. So I think that that will have to be a whole separate video in and of itself, putting the table together. And I think for the purpose of this video, we're gonna use the magic of editing to just jump to the part where the table is done and I get to continue with the last final touches on this room. Are you ready? So this turned out every bit as cool and useful as I had imagined it possibly could, and it does have some really nifty little features, but it was also quite the process to put together, so that is going to be a whole nother video in and of itself. But now that the table is looking super aesthetic, I think it's going to be time to tackle this wall behind me, because it is going to be the backdrop in all of my videos, and it is looking like it could use a bit of an upgrade. So as you've probably just seen, I have installed this long, lovely shelf up here, which I happened to find on the side of the road while walking Canal just a few days ago. So of course, you know me, I snapped that right up and went ahead and installed it, and I absolutely love the way it looks. So much so that I decided I want to install a couple other shelves, some shorter shelves down underneath it, and then I discovered there is a little bit of a problem. And this is, of course, one of the side effects of picking things up off the side of the road, is that this birch effect, which is, of course, IKEA, is no longer made. It doesn't exist anymore. They have discontinued it, and they have replaced it instead with a whitewashed oak effect, which, for the record, does not match at all. So I went on all the classic secondhand sites here in Montreal, hoping to find a couple more shelves there that were older and matched this birch effect, and as you can tell by the fact that I have two white shelves sitting on the wall right now, I was unsuccessful. So instead I decided to go ahead and try the two white shelves that I did find. The price was right, the dimensions were good, I installed them, and I hate them. Don't get me wrong, I love the way they look, like in terms of the placement and the dimensions. I think all that is going to be great. I just can't stand the fact that those are white and this is birch, and in my opinion, unfortunately, the birch is the one that I like better. I like the way it stands out a little bit against the white wall. So I have decided I have to get creative here. My solution was to try and find some other old pieces of IKEA things laying around that maybe still had the same birch effect as that shelf up there. So what I have here, this is part of a table that I took apart in the middle of a very light rain shower just yesterday. It has had time to dry off, and it actually is the most promising option because it has the best dimensions. But then also as a backup plan B, these are the bottom and top of one of those classic IKEA Expedite units. There is a whole story behind that.
Yes. Messy.
Not gonna go into it here, so I think I'm gonna have to get a little bit creative and try to use the internal structure from these shelves with the external facade of these guys, and I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna do it, so I think we're just gonna have to cut to a montage. So the shelves are up. I finished them quite late last night, and I think they look quite fabulous. They do still need some final finishing touches. On one side they look great, but as you can see here on the other side, they need a little bit of work done. So gonna tackle that today, and then also I have come to the realization that I think I'm gonna have to paint this wall back here. When there was that other coat hanging unit back here, when I took it down, that pulled some of the paint off, so there's some exposed paint. There's also a bunch of holes in the wall from where that was mounted, and it's like right in the middle of my wall. It's kind of hard to hide. Trust me, I've tried. So I think I'm gonna have to fill those holes up and then sand everything down and then give it another coat of paint. Fortunately, I do happen to have some paint here that I can use left over from, I don't know, some other previous house project. So I think that's gonna be what's happening today. It was a step that I was dearly hoping to avoid, but alas, I think there's no avoiding it. It's gonna be done. So let's get our painting clothes on and start making this look a little bit sassier, shall we? Well, that was definitely not the most stimulating paint job I've ever done, and I really hope I didn't make you watch a lot of it. Painting white on white is not necessarily my idea of fun, but I do think it is going to significantly improve the look of this backdrop, especially since it is kind of the main wall in, all of my videos, so it probably will be worth it. I still, though, am looking forward to the more exciting parts of this, so let's just skip ahead to that, shall we? So here it is all done, or at least done enough. I feel like these things are never truly done, and I suspect it is going to continue to change and evolve as I use the space more and develop a sort of workflow. But for the moment, I am just thrilled to have a workspace that is both neat and orderly and cute and cheerful. And as a bonus, hopefully it should look nice for future videos as well. Speaking of future videos, the next one out should be about this cutting table behind me, which is definitely the crown jewel of this workspace and which is also doing all of the heavy lifting, metaphorically as well as literally, when it comes to both storage and work surface in this space. So if you're interested in seeing how I put that together and maybe drawing some inspiration for your own, make sure that you're subscribed and keep your eye out for that video. I've already started using the table to get a head start on my Cape Timber project, and the video for that should be out at the end of the month. And if you've made it this far, I truly hope you enjoyed the process and the whole video in general. I know that the more vlog style type videos are a little bit outside of my norm, but then again, knowing me, I've probably gone in and overly edited this within an inch of its life, so you might actually not see that much of a difference. Make sure you let me know down below what was your favorite part of the process, or what your favorite little fun touch in the room is so far, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!